what I've done here is, I know I was asked to do recruitment sector, but what I can't do is we have to look at the agricultural market in general as well, because the two are so closely entwined that you know, one obviously has a knock on to the other really. And yeah, so obviously we all know these things that we have gone through. We've gone through the impact of Brexit, endless subsidies, trade barriers, all that's gone on with import and exports and all the fun with that has definitely caused, on the EO side, you know, changes to our ag business. We've got new trade agreements, so obviously we've got all what's happening, you know, currently with Australia and New Zealand. That's going to be increasing competition of what we've got to be really face up to. And that is so obviously important. There's exciting stuff going on as well, I'd say. You know, the technology advancements like the GPS, the drones, the AI, you know, it's happening. You know, the stuff that we are having to go through, farmers are having to be more efficient and actually review the practices they're doing. You know, more farmers than ever before are using digital platforms. They're looking at crop and livestock management platforms, and I think personally that's great. The environmental climate sort of changes as well that we've gone through. Clearly, you know, decreasing carbon emissions, improving soil health, obviously really, you know, topical at the moment and getting real momentum. The unpredictable weather, again, you know, as we say, it's making us look, it's making us adapt at what we're kind of doing. And then, you know, there's the net zero goals. Clearly, agriculture is a big part of that, really. I was almost nervous to put the rise of the plant-based to this audience on, but you know, whatever we think about it, there is an increase in consumer demand, and we do have to be really ahead of this. Food security, food shortages, it's a real thing. You know, there definitely is no sort of running away from that. You know, agriculture is food. That is what it is, and you know, when we've had things like COVID, has definitely, I think, shown us how vulnerable our supply chain is and needs to be kind of addressed. So this, I thought, was a really interesting picture that I actually picked, because I just thought, you never know, this could be the future of our industry. Might scare some. So yeah, kind of linked to the policies. Obviously, we're going through that shift at the moment from payments for reduction to payment for environmental benefits, really. The labour challenges, particularly at farm level, the biggest labour challenges that we've seen have been in seasonal working. So obviously your fruit picking, your horticulture, that's obviously been affected. And then that's had a knock-on for increasing costs. Sadly, so much for some that it just almost hasn't come viable anymore, really. Again, the supply chain, obviously, as we said earlier, the link to the vulnerability that we have there. But again, you know, the war in Ukraine has had such a knock-on to our industry. You know, the availability of fertiliser, grain inputs, you know, and all the costs that have gone up has that sort of effect on it all. And then, yeah, the agricultural technical investments, you know, we are seeing vertical farming, and we are seeing crops now that are a little bit more, you know, resilient to climate change. So there has been, fair to say, a fair bit kind of going on, really. But linking this now, obviously, specifically to the recruitment market itself, it's definitely fair to say that and it's not going to come as a surprise from obviously what we've just said earlier, and I'm showing you the knock-on here, that agriculture is buoyant and not booming. There is definitely a shortage of people, and you know, having a look around the room, this is something that you guys could potentially take advantage of, a shortage of people from sort of 20 to 40 age group. I think particularly this has come from, if you think of what we've gone through events like Foot in Mouth, for example, where times certain age groups should be, you know, coming into and studying at university, maybe thought actually I'll go into other sectors. You know, there's been a lot of things that have had kind of a bit of a knock on here really that has definitely affected things. But mass retirements is an interesting one. You know, obviously as in my intro that Natalie said that, you know, I'm working a lot with companies at the moment with succession planning, which is, you know, really interesting. And with retirements comes change, and with change comes opportunity. And I think it is great to see actually that we're already seeing a lot of younger people in this sector going in more senior positions. So that again is something which is happening. You can see I said applicant-led market here. I have not put candidates because candidates grates on me a little bit. I know I'm in recruitment, but it makes people sound like a commodity. So yeah, we are. It's shifting slightly, which is good because we're getting confidence back. You know, people are wanting to move a bit more, which is what we need. You know, that's all part of the flow really, because without the flow, which was what we've seen a bit of stifledness really of people sort of moving around. And I think it'd be fair to say that's both being on the commercial and practical side of the industry. Counter offers has been a really interesting one. Over the last couple of years, it's increased. And when I say it's increased by like 73% counter offers, because companies, which I totally get because of all the things that we're saying here, are desperately trying to keep people. And I get it, absolutely, but we have a bit of a saying where we call them sort of 6-monthers really, because you know, if you're not happy in a company, then you can only really put a plaster over a bullet wound for so long, and then people kind of tend to move on really. And again, impacted from all of this, we've got salary increase pressures as well, and again, like I understand people knowing they're a rare commodity and pushing for salary increases, and I respect that, but all I would say is maybe from my front sort of 3 bits of advice is don't forget when you push for more salary, you have to deliver more. You know, the reality is agriculture isn't the highest paid sector in the world. That's just the reality of it as well. And also just don't always be about the bottom line. Only you can put a value on being part of something, being part of a business, feeling valued.